Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is called the Protecting Our Kids Act, but sadly, it does no such thing. The one thing that we could do immediately to protect our kids is the one thing that the Democrats refuse even to consider. We think nothing of it when we see an armed guard at a bank. Well, they're there for one purpose, to stop anyone who's trying to steal our money. And yet, when we suggest that we should use the same force and resolve to stop someone from killing our children, the left goes berserk. I simply do not understand such a screwed-up value system as that. President Biden's press secretary says that hardening our schools is not something he supports. Now think about that. The most heavily guarded person in the world, in the most hardened fortress in the country, is telling us that we cannot protect our children in our schools as seriously as we protect our money in our banks. Of course, hardening the schools works. Listen to the sick mind that produced the massacre in Buffalo. He wrote, and I quote, "Attacking in a weapon-restricted area may decrease the chance of civilian backlash. Schools, courts, or areas where CCW are outlawed or prohibited may be good areas of attack. Areas where CCW permits are low may also fit in this category. Areas with strict gun control laws are also great places of attack," unquote. That's the Buffalo shooter. Criminals understand that, even if the Democrats in this House do not. In committee, I offered an amendment to require schools receiving federal security funds to have at least one armed guard on every campus and to allow school officials who've met the requirements of their state to carry a concealed weapon to have it on campus to protect their students if they want to. This is something that can be implemented immediately and that could well have stopped the massacre at Uvalde. It doesn't depend on criminals obeying the law, as this bill does. It doesn't depend on someday maybe reducing possibly the 400 million firearms in this country. It doesn't make self-defense harder for honest and decent people. In fact, it makes self-defense easier for honest and decent people. It would make future attacks on our schools much less likely to succeed and infinitely more dangerous to those contemplating such an act. Yet the Democrats refused even to consider it. We know how to reduce gun violence, harden our schools, and protect our children with the same seriousness as we protect our money. Prosecute gun criminals. Send them to prison for the rest of their lives. Execute murderers. Confine the dangerously mentally ill so that we can treat them. Stop letting terrorists into the country across our southern border. Yet woke district attorneys often refuse to prosecute gun criminals, or they quickly drop gun charges to reduce their sentences. The Democrats have all but abolished the death penalty. They've released dangerous criminals from our prisons, released dangerous criminal illegal aliens into our communities, flooded our streets with the dangerously mentally ill, and turned a blind eye as terrorists come across the border that they've left wide open. And then they wonder why we're plagued with violent criminals. Maybe it's time to get serious about removing criminals from our streets and to fortify our schools. That's something we could do today that will have an immediate effect today. Protecting Our Kids Act. It does no such thing. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. I yield back.